I dig music. I'm on drugs!
Unfortunately, or fortunately, I've based my entire life and personality on this movie. I saw it when I was like 10, and I remember turning to my dad and being like, you could do this for a job.
This is what we call in the scientific community a perfect film.
This film is kind of a mood, if I can use a buzzword. It actually is a mood, scientifically speaking.
That's what it is.
Almost Famous. If you love rock music, you're gonna love this movie.
I feel like you should watch Almost Famous because it has become kind of a modern classic of Cameron Crowe reflecting on his own life.
A semi-autobiographical movie about the stuff you could get away with as a journalist in the 70s.
I've been confusing Almost Famous with Election for maybe the last decade. And I hadn't seen either movie, and I thought that Kate Hudson and Reese Witherspoon were in both.
Almost Famous is a movie I watched over and over and over and over and over and over and over again in college. It was because it was one of the ones that was just easy to illegally download, I think.
If you love Rolling Stone magazine, you're gonna love this movie.
I mean, Frances McDormand, she was strict, but not strict enough. I would have not let my child be on the road with a bunch of grown-ass nasty men.
This is one of the first films that I was like genuinely like horny to, where I was like, oh, wait a minute, everybody involved in this is either hot or talented or both.
If you love Philip Seymour Hoffman talking on the phone, you will love this movie.
All of my memories of Philip Seymour Hoffman in this film are just him on the phone dispensing very sort of salty, craggly advice, and it is usually good advice.
This is a great movie if you have 2 hours to burn and you think you're watching Election, but it's not.
Beautiful.
Sometimes you want to see a movie that reminds you of the power of cinema, like why movies are made, why we watch them, why this whole beautiful, crazy industry exists and thrives. And sometimes you want to see Burlesque.
Not quite great enough to be like a camp masterpiece like Showgirls, like in a bad way or a good way, but like a fun, campy movie.
It's Christina after her music before The Voice when she wasn't really sure what was next.
This film has Stanley Tucci and Alan Cumming in very strange, very, very poorly written supporting roles.
Well, I feel like this is Stanley Tucci's specific niche, where he always plays the kind of like supportive, go-get-em guy in mostly female-driven movies.
I believe every movie should teach you something, and Burlesque taught me about airspace rights. That was the first movie that taught me about owning the air.
There's a whole thing about the burlesque club that's running out of money and stuff, and they need to figure out how to make it work, and then they discover that they have the air rights.
If I own the air rights above this building, I could destroy this building and then build up taller than this building. That's owning the air rights. That. No one can correct me, no one comment, no one correct me, I'm correct.
Oh, you know what? Another movie that deals with air rights is It Takes Two. Great air rights film.
And you know, it's interesting. I was recently calling into CBS FM to try to win tickets to see Cher. And I called and called and called and called, and I didn't get on the line once.
May I kiss you?
Why, yes, you can.
You guys, I could talk about this movie for 5 hours, which is how long it is.
Meet Joe Black has big TNT energy, doesn't it?
Meet Joe Black is sort of like when a friend is telling you about a dream that's like very long and meandering, and you're like, what's the point of this dream? Why are you telling me this dream? I really like you. I like all the people that are involved in this dream, but why did this dream happen, and why did you choose to put it into the world?
People hate this movie so much, and I love it so much that I worry about myself. I'm like, what am I missing? Or rather, maybe I'm the one who's right and everyone else is wrong.
Sometimes people talk about Brad Pitt being so hot, and sometimes I think to myself, like, I don't know that this man is so hot. And then you see a film like Meet Joe Black, and you realize that he is actually enormously attractive.
In some scenes, it looks as though he's wearing a tinted lip, but I think his lips are just like that nice.
He does seem like someone who just like couldn't not have abs even if he really tried.
The whole point of the movie is that he's so hot.
Brad Pitt early in his career was hungry, and not just hungry for success, he was hungry for actual food.
I'm starting to think that this man is malnourished.
The amount of peanut butter he consumes in this movie, he makes peanut butter sexual.
I would also eat a lot if I were allowed to on any kind of film situation, and I wish there were food in here right now.
I see that scene where he gets knocked out by that car a bunch of times, and we never return to that. That's never addressed. We kind of just boop, 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 boop.
I think the bus shot in Mean Girls with Regina George is better.
I thought that maybe it happened the final scene of the movie, which would be a weird choice, but that's what I assumed. Turns out, that actually happens towards the beginning of the movie.
Why does everyone hate it? I think they just hate it because it's so good.
He's also deaf, I guess. He's deaf, he's like the Grim Reaper. I guess the movie finally answers the question, you know, what if death made you horny as hell?